ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ನೂ ಬರಲ್ಲ, ಟೈಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ.
ಸಂತೋಷ್ ಮಹಾರಾಜ್ ಪೇರು ಸಂತೋಷ್ ಮಹಾರಾಜ್ ಪೇರು
ಮೋಕ್ಷಾತ್ಮಾನಂದ.
ಮೋಕ್ಷಾತ್ಮ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಲೆಟರ್
समझी प्रणाम।
नमस्ते।
नमस्ते समझी, प्रणाम समझी।
Today I have come in time.
समझी ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಸ್ವಾಮಿ, ಹಾಡ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬೋದು. ಲೈವ್ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಲೈವ್ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ.
ಓಂ ಸ್ಥಾಪಕಾಯ ಚ ಧರ್ಮಸ್ಯ ಸರ್ವಧರ್ಮಸ್ವರೂಪಿಣೇ ಅವತಾರ ವರಿಷ್ಠಾಯ ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣಾಯ ತೇ ನಮಃ. My dear devotees, today we shall study another bright monk, a living Vedantin, a monastic disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Kurian. He was an exemplary life of living. The Turiya itself means the fourth state. Many of you will be knowing the first state is Jagrata state, Swapna state, then Sushupti state, and beyond all these three things are the Turiya state, or the Nirvikalpa Samadhi state. He attained that state by the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, but his preparation was no less. From a very young age, he lived a real Vedantic life. His pre-monastic name was Harinath, or familiarly called as Hari. As a boy of 13 or 14 years itself, he was always trying to practice for himself, I am not this body, I am Brahman. Satchidananda Sukha. Brahman, I am. This is proved from his one incident of his young age. One day when he was 13 or 14 years, he had gone to bathe in the Ganges. And there suddenly saw at a distance a crocodile was approaching him. All the people who were on the bank and other people who were bathing at other places, they started shouting, hey boy, a crocodile is coming, come away to the bank. He came away to the bank, but as soon as he reached the bank and started walking a few steps, he suddenly remembered, why am I so much afraid? I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the senses. Such songs always I sing, such stotras I sing, but why do I have fear? I should not have. Then he again went back to the water and started bathing. Somehow the crocodile had gone away by that time. So this was the spirit he had from his young age. He was a very fearless boy, and when he became a sannyasin, Swami Vivekananda gives him the name Swami Kuriananda. He was born on 3rd January 1863. We all very well remember 12th January, Swami Vivekananda was born for the same year. So he was elder to Swamiji by 9 days. So when he was 3 years old, he lost his mother, Prasannamayi, and later his father also too died when he was 12 years old. From that day onward, he understood this world is not a real thing. This is only for us to come and go. So from young age, he was very orthodox. Being born in a Brahmin family, he was initiated into samskara of Sandhyavandana, into the Gayatri mantra was. He used to chant this Gayatri mantra very sincerely 3 times a day, and that too taking 3 baths. Morning he will take bath, repeat the Sandhyavandanam, again in the noon and again in the night, but he was very, very punctual in that. And he used to say to his friends in the school, from a very young age he had renunciation, and he said, I will never marry in my life. I want to lead a Vedantic life. I want to live my life like Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara was his ideal. So, and in his school, he had selected Bengali and Sanskrit as his subjects to study. So naturally, the Sanskrit was his favorite subject, and he started memorizing the Sanskrit shlokas, and he had memorized as a boy Devi Mahatmyam Chandi, which we all chant, and he had memorized the whole thing, and also Bhagavad Gita, and also Shankaracharya's Vivek Chodamani. That means you can very well understand how he was a good student of Sanskrit and how pure his mind was. And when he was going to the school, there was a Sarvamangala temple nearby where he heard that there lived a person who had occult powers. So many people used to flock to him to get either their diseases cured or to get some powers or to clear off their family worries, family difficulties. So for all those things, people naturally they used to go to him. So Swami Kurian at that time, Hari, hearing that, he also went to him, started going, but he was not asking anything from him. Particularly, he used to go and do pranams to him. One day, that yogi, seeing him coming every day, but not asking anything, he asked him, "What do you want, my boy? Why do you come every day here? Do you want anything from me?" Then this boy said, "Sir, I want to practice spirituality. I want to realize God. Can you show the path?" Then he looked at him intently and he said, "Boy, definitely you will realize God, but time has not yet come. A time will come, you will definitely succeed in this. I am surprised at your desire of this highest type, because the people come here, as you are seeing, either to cure their diseases or to fulfill their wants in life. But you are so sincere, you are seeking God. I am very, very happy. It will happen to you one day or other, don't worry." Then, and in his street, there was a gentleman called Dinnath Basu. He was a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, was always requesting Sri Ramakrishna to visit his house once. Sri Ramakrishna ultimately had agreed, and one day he decided that such and such a day will go. Then Dinnath Basu went on telling to all the people of his street, and he invited them all to come and get the blessings of Sri Ramakrishna. This Harinath, he got interested in that. Oh, a great saint is coming. I should also go and visit. And he came. And many people had gone inside the house, but this boy, with Dinnath and others, he was standing on the road waiting for Sri Ramakrishna. He wanted to see him. Then a horse carriage came. Sri Ramakrishna, with the help of somebody, slowly got down. Then at that time he was just 14 years, 14 years old he was. He became so much interested in Sri Ram, seeing the figure of Sri Ramakrishna himself. He became very attracted, he was attracted towards Sri Ramakrishna, and Hriday, this one, Sri Ramakrishna, along with nephew who had come along with Sri Ramakrishna, he helped him to get down from a horse carriage. The master was in ecstasy. The first sight which Harinath saw was Sri Ramakrishna was in ecstasy. He had lost the outer consciousness. Then, and he got down with the help of Hriday, and then Harinath, after some days, he wrote about his first visit. That is more interesting to hear directly from Harinath or Kurianji's lips itself in the writing. He says, "The master appeared very thin." He gives the description of Sri Ramakrishna. It is always very interesting to hear anything about Sri Ramakrishna. So here he writes, the master appeared very thin. He had a shirt on, and his cloth was securely tied around his waist. One of his feet was on the step of the carriage, and the other was inside. He was in a semi-conscious state. When he got down, what a wonderful sight, Hari Maharaj writes. There was an indescribable radiance over his face. I thought, I have heard from the scriptures about the great sage Shukadeva. Is he the same Shukadeva? Come in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. Then Ramakrishna was taken to the second floor of Dinnath Basu's house, and Harinath followed him. Regaining a little consciousness of the outer world, the master saw a portrait of Mother Kali on the wall. He bowed down to her and then thrilled the audience by singing a song describing the oneness of Krishna and Kali. Sri Ramakrishna sings a song there. So naturally, his sweet voice, it captured everybody. This first meeting with the God-intoxicated saint left a deep impression on Harinath, as he was inclined to Shankara's non-dualistic philosophy and a life of renunciation, austerity, and continence. He did not feel that it was necessary for him to become a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, who was a devotee of the Divine Mother. However, after 2 or 3 years, probably in 1880, Harinath went to Dakshineshwar and visited the master again. Observing some auspicious signs in him, the master asked him to come on weekdays when he will be free, when there would not be many people present. Gradually, he started coming again and again to him. Once, Harinath said to the master that his goal was to attain nirvana, liberation, in this very life. Sri Ramakrishna also starts talking to him. He finds so many good auspicious signs on his body, and then he understands that he belongs to his group, inner group. So, and there used to be a lot of conversation, and Hari was a very bold boy. He asked Sri Ramakrishna, what is the purpose of life? He says, I want to attain nirvana, liberation in this very life. But this master reproached him and said, those who seek nirvana are selfish and small-minded. They are full of fear. They are like those purchasing players who are always eager to reach home. And then Sri Ramakrishna's life was, to him, Sri Ramakrishna's life itself looks like his message. Harinath later recalled the days with the master. He says, in those days at Dakshineshwar were like the heaven itself. Naturally, to live with Sri Ramakrishna means living in heaven itself. From morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, everyone would be busy picking flowers and making other preparations for worship until the poor were fed in the Dakshineshwar temple. In the meantime, Sri Ramakrishna would discuss spiritual subjects and the devotees would listen to him with rapt attention. Even his fun and jokes were related to God. There was no other topic. Everything culminated in his samadhi, that is transcendental state. After lunch, Sri Ramakrishna would rest for a short period and again would speak on spiritual matters. At Vespers of time, he would go to the temple of Mother Kali and fan her a little. Sri Ramakrishna was very fond of evening arati and serving the mother. Mother was a reality to him. So he used to go and there is a big fan. He would take it in hand and go on fanning the Divine Mother at the time of arati. And he would become God intoxicated there and would return to his room reeling in a state of ecstasy. He used to ask those of us who were practicing spiritual disciplines and his guidance, tell me, do you feel divine inebriation when you meditate in the mornings and evenings? At night, Sri Ramakrishna slept very little. He used to get up and wake those who were sleeping in the room, saying, don't sleep too much, wake up and meditate. Again, he would lie down a short while and then rise before dawn and chant the name of the Lord in his inimitable sweet voice. The disciples would sit and meditate in their own way. Now and then, the disciples would sit and meditate. Now and then, the master would go to them and correct their posture. An hour of congregational singing in the company of the master would fill us with such exuberant joy that we would feel transported, as it were, into an ethereal region. But now, even meditation fails to evoke that celestial bliss or even a resemblance of it. That means in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna, the mind used to get so much absorbed, full of bliss. Even when we sit in the prayer hall and in front of Sri Ramakrishna's photo, when we sing with pure devotion, our mind feels so much joy, so much bliss. Then, when he is present, when he used to go, Sri Ramakrishna used to be present in the room, and Sri Ramakrishna would ask his disciples to sing the glory of the mother, and he himself also would sing. He had a very sweet voice, and sitting in front of Sri Ramakrishna and singing the songs of devotion, how much joy it would be. Just imagine. So they were all blessed, and we used to feel intoxicated, though we did not know why or how. Who would believe it? It is difficult to convince anyone, yet I must speak out. The ordinary man seeks nirvana because he has suffered, but he does not know the tremendous joy in the divine communion. To live with Sri Ramakrishna was a great education. Just to live with him itself, he used to, Sri Ramakrishna used to train them so much. He taught his disciples and how to attain perfection in samadhi as well as in service. Harinath later recalled, one day at Dakshineshwar, the master said to me, go to the Panchavati. Some devotees had a picnic there. See if they have left anything behind. If you find anything, bring it here. Sri Ramakrishna was a perfectionist. He knew how the other worldly people live. So one day a lot of devotees have come. He encouraged them to have some fun under the Panchavati, and he sent them, have a picnic there, go. And they all went, and there they were singing, dancing, enjoying, and then afterward they all came back. When Hari comes, Sri Ramakrishna asks him, see, you go there once again to Panchavati and look around. There may be some things these people might have forgotten. Go and get them all those things. So Hari goes there. I went and found an umbrella in one place, a knife in another place, and some other articles. I gathered them up and took them to the master. The knife had been borrowed from Sri Ramakrishna. I was just placing it on the shelf when he said, this is a perfectionist. Sri Ramakrishna was a perfectionist. So here he teaches a lesson to Hari. He says, where are you putting it? No, not there. Put it underneath small bedstead. That is there which belongs. You must put everything in its proper place. Suppose I need a knife during the night. If you put it anywhere else you please, I will have to go around the room in the dark, stretching out my arm in search of it, wondering where you put it. Is such a service a service? You do things as you like and thereby only cause trouble to me. If you want to serve properly, you should completely forget yourself. He teaches there what is service. It is very difficult to serve the great people, especially people like Sri Ramakrishna. Because as I said earlier, he was a perfectionist. A knife, when a knife is brought, knife has got a particular place in his room, that is near his bed. It should be kept there itself. Because he says, even in the night, if I want to get the knife, if I stretch my hand, I should be able to get it. If you put it somewhere else, I have to burn the light and then search here and there and waste my time in that. What a great lesson, you see. You just imagine in our own lives, we usually, the common thing which we do and we search, that is the key of our scooter or car. Whenever we come back to our house, even though the key has got a particular place to keep, we don't keep. Somewhere, as soon as we come, wherever we find place, we keep it there. And next day morning, go on searching, where is the key, where is the key, like that. But Sri Ramakrishna is teaching here, each article has got a particular place. If you place it there, the next day, it will not at all be difficult. Simply we can stretch our hand and get that thing. So this is the small ways Sri Ramakrishna used to teach even the day-to-day affairs, leave alone spiritual things. So he was very particular about, he was a disciplinarian. So that is the thing we have to learn. Becoming a spiritual aspirant does not mean only singing the name of the God and sitting and meditating. Every act of ours must be a worship. Sri Ramakrishna, a special teaching to this age is Sri Ram work is worship. Swami Vivekananda insists on this point in all his lectures and in his life in particular. So Sri Ramakrishna taught all these people that work is worship. Whatever work we are doing it, that should be done with the attitude of a worship. So here also Sri Ramakrishna taught him that Sri Ramakrishna tested his disciples. So the disciples verified the genuineness of their Guru. One day Hari arrived in Dakshineshwar when the master was having dinner. He saw that a number of bowls containing various cooked items were placed before him. Harinath thought this kind of luxurious eating was unbecoming of a holy man. But externally, without knowing the internal meaning, sometimes we make comment. Suppose if a monk is wearing a good cloth, immediately we say, see how luxurious he is. But here also, when Harinath himself was a very austere man, leading a very simple life. So one day when he came, he saw Sri Ramakrishna sat for food, and so many small cups were there all around his plate. Then he said, Arey, he is a monk and he is this one and he is having such a luxurious life and luxurious food. So this kind of saying, but Sri Ramakrishna, looking at him, he understood what the Hari is thinking. Then immediately he said at once, well, the tendency of mind is always towards the infinite. It is by such a Rajasic device that I hold it down to the lower planes. Otherwise, I could not talk with you. Harinath was dumbfounded how he could study his mind. He had kept so many bowls because to bring down his mind a little in this food so that it will be, let me eat this, let me eat that. Like that, a small desire will remain in his mind that will keep his mind in the lower plane. That's why Sri Ramakrishna was eating with so many bowls. Ramakrishna was illustrating his teaching with some very apt tales. Harinath was surprised at the spontaneity with which these stories cropped up in his talk. And he asked, Sir, do you prepare your similes before you go out? The master replied, No, mother is always present. Whenever I am, wherever I am, mother supplies supplies me with ideas. Sri Ramakrishna, when we read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we find so many similes, so many examples, so many stories. It will make people laugh and laugh. Then Turiyananda thought just like all others, just as we do it. If we have to lecture, we have to prepare a lot. We point out, we'll note down many points to tell, all these things. But Sri Ramakrishna had never said things. First of all, he himself was not a learned man in the worldly sense. He did not read any scriptures at all. But whenever he used to talk anything, whenever he used to say something, so many new things, what we have not read in the scriptures, nor in any books, new things used to come out from the mouth of Sri Ramakrishna. So Turiyananda, he wondered where from he collects all these things. So he asked him, Sir, do you prepare before lecturing? Then Sri Ramakrishna laughs and says, Preparation. Whatever is to be told, the mother pushes the words through my mouth. I need not have to prepare anything. That's why when first time Master Mahashay, the author of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, when he came to Sri Ramakrishna and he heard his wonderful talks, see, he asked the maid servant there, "Oh, my mother, is he very learned? Does he read books? What has he studied and all those things?" Then that maid servant laughs and says, "Learning? What learning? Saraswati resides in his tongue. Everything the mother speaks and just he narrates." So Master was surprised. Without reading, without learning, is it possible to speak like this? So that was Sri Ramakrishna. After attaining illumination, Sri Ramakrishna waited for his disciples nearly 25 years. During his last few years of his life, when his young disciples joined him, the master poured all his spiritual treasures into them and bound them with love. He hastened to train his disciples so that they could carry his message to the world. Once he said to Harinath, I want to see you quite often, for I know you are dear to the Lord. Otherwise, why should I spend my time on you? You can't give me anything worth even a cent. And when I go to your house, you can't even spread a torn mat for me to sit on. Yet I love you so much. Don't forget to come here, because here you will get everything that is needed for your spiritual life. If you can find elsewhere unities for God realization, opportunities for God realization, you may go there. What I want is that you should realize God, that you should transcend the misery of the world and enjoy divine bliss, that you should attain Him in this life. The Divine Mother tells me, if you only come here, you will realize God without any effort. That is why I ask you to see me so often. Saying these words, Sri Ramakrishna was overcome with emotion and began to shed tears. This was the conversations or the days how Hari Maharaj or Swami later Turiyananda used to learn from Sri Ramakrishna. Living with the saint itself was everything for him, and serving the master was a great opportunity. He got it. Since he was visiting Dakshineshwar frequently, Harinath came to know other young disciples of the master. Now there, naturally, Swamiji, Brahmanandaji, all the others and future monastic disciples, they were all boys, 18 years, 16 years. They all used to flock to Sri Ramakrishna and enjoy his company. So he became friends to all of them. Their approaches to spiritual life were by no means identical. Yet Narendra appreciated Harinath's renunciation, scriptural knowledge, and Brahminical orthodoxy. One day both were walking to Calcutta from Dakshineshwar. On the way, Narendra said to Harinath, "Tell me something." "Then what shall I tell you?" replied Harinath. Then Harinath quoted a verse from Shivamahimna Stotra. "Oh, what shall I tell? My mouth, I cannot, no words come when I talk of Sri Ramakrishna." And he recites one prayer, that is, that if the goddess of learning, it is from the Shivamahimna Stotra, Asitagiri Samam Sat, Kajjanam Sindhu Patram Surataro Varshaka Lekani Patramurvim Yedilikadi Nityam Sharada Sarvakale Tadapidava Gunanam Tayatam Nayati. The meaning of that shloka, it's a very beautiful shloka in the Shivamahimna Stotra. That is, the author is writing, expressing his inability to describe the glory of Lord Shiva. There, the meaning of that word is, if the goddess of learning, that is Saraswati, were to write eternally, that means the authoress is Saraswati. Saraswati thinks, let me write about Lord Shiva. And she sits for writing. Saraswati, the goddess of learning, she is the root cause, root for all the knowledge. So if she thinks let me write Shiva's glory. And she sits. So the authoress is Saraswati. If she takes pen, what is the pen? Having the largest branch of the celestial tree for her pen. Kalpataro Ruksha. What is her pen? Kalpataru Vriksha, which gives everything. She takes a branch of Kalpataru and makes it her pen. And she starts writing with that. Having the largest branch of the celestial tree from her pen, the whole earth for her paper. What is the paper on which she writes? The earth itself is the paper. That means such a vast thing. In such a vast thing, Saraswati herself starts writing with the Kalpataru branch as her pen. And then the blue mountain for her ink pot. What is the ink? The whole big mountain. And she keeps that as the ink pot. And what is the ink? And the ocean for her ink. The whole samudra, the ocean is there, which is the ink. And ink pot is the mountain. And writer is the Saraswati herself. And pen is the Kalpavruksha tree branch. And the ocean for her ring. Even then, O Lord, thy attributes could not be fully described. He says, even then, she will not be able to describe the glory of Lord Shiva. So, Harinath is telling here, what shall I say about Sri Ramakrishna? You are asking me to speak about Sri Ramakrishna. What shall I say? Where Saraswati fails herself to write the glory of Lord Shiva, in the same way, I am a very insignificant man to say anything about Sri Ramakrishna. Then Narendra shared his understanding of Sri Ramakrishna. He says, shall I tell you who is Sri Ramakrishna? Harinath becomes very anxious. Yes, brother, tell me, who is Sri Ramakrishna? What have you understood of him? Then he says, oh, he is love personified. If there is anything called love, and it is nothing but Sri Ramakrishna himself. Sri Ramakrishna is love personified. He loves us all. Why we alone? The whole world, the suffering humanity. Sri Ramakrishna's heart bleeds for them. His love is so much. He is a love personified. If love can be put in a concrete form, it is nothing but Sri Ramakrishna. Swamiji says that was his feeling of Sri Ramakrishna in the boyhood days. Harinath thus discovered that they had identical views about the master. Then yes, what you say is correct. Now I can understand it. Harinath mental feeling also was like that. So who is Sri Ramakrishna means, in the words of Swami Vivekananda and Harinath, it is nothing but love personified, love in a human form. That was the Sri Ramakrishna. And on 24th May, Harinath again visited Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar. He said to the master, well, why does it take many people such a long time to realize God? He puts an apt question because he was hankering to see God. He says people are doing so much spiritual practices, and especially the rishis and all we have seen. It takes years and years and years. Why does it take so much time to realize God? What is the reason? Hari asked Sri Ramakrishna. We also feel we are doing so much japam, so much meditation. Why the grace of the God does not come to us? Very often we feel. So Sri Ramakrishna replies here, the truth is that a man does not feel restless for God unless he is finished with the enjoyments and duties of the world. So long we have got attachment to this world, so long we are after our children and wives and parents and all those relatives and all those things, so long the God does not come. God demands single-minded devotion towards Him. When the mind says and the heart feels, I cannot live without God, then He says, when you reach that state, automatically God will come. So, Here is the answer to our question, why are we so distant from God? Because we are clinging too much to the world and we have very little time for God. How much time we spend for God? And in that time, in that small few minutes, how can God appear? So he says, mentally cut off all your bondages and understand they are all impermanent things. Today it is there, tomorrow difficult to say whether it will be there. And we are seeing in front of our own eyes during these corona days. I too feel very sad whenever I hear that such and such a devotee passed away. So close to us, but unfortunately the time has come, they go away. At that time, what a great agony that in our mind, oh, Sri Ramakrishna, one more devotee, he has gone. How much more it will be for the worldly people who lose their children or parents or relatives or known people. And we wonder why God is taking them away all. That shows that impermanency of the world. We cannot tell anything. How, when, in what way a man passes away. But it is a very inevitable thing. Nobody can stop this. All that we can do is we should pray to God. Pray to God. Oh Lord, I am understanding the impermanence of the world. Give me devotion at your holy feet. Let my tongue repeat constantly your name. That is the only permanent thing. And please do protect. I cannot stand or I cannot live without my friends or relatives. At least spare them, cure their diseases and let them all live with me. Then only I can be happy. That's all what we can do. We cannot stop how a man will go. That's why Sri Ramakrishna tells in his teachings, he says the doctor will come. The doctor says, oh, to the mother or the father, oh, don't worry, I will save your son. I will cure your son. Then Sri Ramakrishna says, when the doctor is so authentically, he is telling, the God will be laughing from the sky and he says, who are you to save? Who are you to kill? Neither you are a killer nor you are a saver. It is me, I who have to take his life. And when I take his life, you cannot do anything. So, and in a similar way, Sri Ramakrishna tells another, this one illustration, he says, two brothers are fighting. They have got a land. In that land, in between they put a big line and they mark and they say, this is yours, that is mine, that is yours, this is mine. That is even for a piece of land, for an inch, sometimes they go to court and whole life they spend in court quarreling over that piece of land. Sri Ramakrishna says, when they differentiate, when they draw a line and say, this is mine, that is mine, Lord laughs itself in the sky, it seems. He says, which is who? Both the whole land belongs to me. Who are you to say this is mine, that is mine, and all those absolutely temporary things? Instead, think, Lord has, out of his infinite grace, he has given me. As long as I live, it is mine, that's all. After my death, can I carry that land? So all those things we should think. The other day somebody sent a beautiful WhatsApp. This one, when an illustration is there, that is a man, a very rich man. He is dead and he is lying on a mat spread for him, about to take the body to the graveyard. All around him in that picture they have drawn houses, cars, so many material things, TV, refrigerator, everything which he was possessing. Then another man is asking, looking at the dead man, dear friend, can you take a small thing from all these things which you are calling all these days mine, mine, mine? You're holding on to those things and telling, this is mine, this is mine. I have so much. I have so many cars. I have so many houses. I have so many bungalows. All these things, you're telling. But when you are died and when you are going, can you take even the smallest things of all these things? That is the reality. We should remember that. When I go, I cannot take anything. All that I take is whatever punyam or papam I have done. Or how many times I have realized, I have thought of God, I have remembered God. That is the only thing which comes with us. That Lord asks, when you die, how many times did you do japam of my name? Oh, 10,000, 50,000, you are really blessed. That only the question God asks you. He won't ask you how many buildings you possessed, how many cars you had. All these material things is nothing but mere ashes, mere absolutely valueless things. We should have it, we should enjoy it, but at the same time, we should remember in our heart of hearts, these are all out of grace God has given me, and I'm only an enjoying. I'm only taking care of those things. I'm not the real owner of those things. So if we can remember that, then enjoy, then there is no problem. But if we cling to it and give our whole life to it, it is absolutely meaningless. Because at the time of death, this Sri Ramakrishna tells an old man was there. He was at the time of death, he was asking God, oh God, what did I do? What did I do in my life? Then God, it seems, laughs and says, no, you did not do anything. Worth doing, you have not done anything. You have not given any charity to any poor people. You have not given education to the poor children. You have not taken care of even your family properly. You have done nothing. Nor you did not visit my temples any time. You did not repeat my name when you got up from the bed. And you did not repeat my name while going to sleep. You did not do anything. If you had done those things, they would have come value to it. They would have had value to it, and you would have enjoyed the death also at that time, because God will be pleased with you. To please the God, this is the only way. And in this world we should live, not to please my officer, not to please my wife, not to please my husband, not to please this man, that man, and all those things. They are temporary. We should live our life at every moment. We should think the action which I am committing now, the action which I am doing, is it going to please the God? Is it going to, God will be happy over that? This is the thing we will have to listen. In Bhagavatam, there comes a beautiful shloka which says, looking at a rich man, oh rich man, you might have covered with all beautiful things to offer to me, with a silver plate, covering with a shawl, with a silk cloth, and then carrying it to me, to the Lord, to the temple. And on the way, there are so many beggars, there are so many hungry people, and you do not even look at them. And if you bring such offerings to me and keep it in front of me, remember, I do not even look at it. Even I do not look at it. But if you have a mind that after the offering, while going, I will distribute a little to the poor people who are hungry, who are sitting on the roadside and who are begging. If I have a heart to distribute to them also, then you see I am accepting all your offering. A beautiful sloka in the Bhagavatam. So it's a great lesson for us. We should charity, it should come from our heart. Whatever we have got, we should learn to share it with others and eat it. Then on that is what Sri Ramakrishna teaches. He was going to the Kashi, Banaras. On the way he came to a place called Devgar, where a number of people were sitting on the roads because there was no rain for the last 3 years, and there was nothing to eat for them. So they were all starving. Looking at their faces, Sri Ramakrishna tells Mathur, who had come with him, who had made all these arrangements to take him to Kashi, hey Mathur, why are they all sitting like this? Hungry? amazed. Then Mathur says, Baba, there was no rain for the last 3 years. They have nothing to eat. Oh, Sri Ramakrishna starts crying. He said, Mathur, you feed all these fellows first. Give them a new piece of cloth. Give them some oil to apply to their head. Mathur says, Baba, I can do all those. But now if I do, we will not have money to go to the Kashi. I will let us come back from Calcutta. Again, I will go. I will come to Calcutta. I will come back and feed all these people and take care of them. Sri Ramakrishna says, no, no, Mathur. I can't leave them here like this and come. I won't come with you. You go to Kashi. And he sat in the midst of the people. And he was also shedding tears. And then Mathur had to oblige. And he feeds them all. Then Sri Ramakrishna becomes very happy. He said, Mathur, my pilgrimage to Kashi is fulfilled. Whether we go to Kashi or not, it does not matter. I saw Lord Shiva in every one of them. They are the real Shiva. So Jive, Shiva Seva, Swami Vivekananda brings that philosophy of Sri Ramakrishna to life. And he says, work is worship. Work means serving. Serving to humanity itself is a worship. It is a real worship, he calls it. So, this is here, Sri Ramakrishna is telling to Hari, see, simply by doing little spiritual practice, don't think God will appear before you. All our actions should be pointed towards God. Whatever we are doing, if we are thinking in our mind, heart of heart, I am serving God, then that becomes the real worship. He says, and then he in the last days, he goes to the Dakshineshwar, Kashipur, stays with Sri Ramakrishna and serves him day and night, and afterwards he comes to Baranagar. Baranagar Math, a very, very austere life. Hari Maharaj, lives day and night meditating and always in the supreme knowledge. And it is said, on every shloka of Bhagavad Gita, he used to meditate one day. And so that means 365 days. So the whole year, he used to meditate on the Gita. 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, he meditated. And every shloka he realized in his life. And later on, he goes to go to America. That all we shall see in the next week. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpana.
Thank you, Samji. Thank you, Samji. Pranam.